Hello everyone who's listening in. So today I am going to attempt to do a bit of priming, if the airbrush actually works, on some Barons Wars minis. So this arrived I think a couple of weeks ago actually. It's just been sat in the box. So it's the Barons War, a medieval skirmish game, and it's a collaboration between Footsword Miniatures and Warhorse Online. And it's written by Andy Hobdy. It's a really good book actually. I've had the PDF. So here's what the minis could look like. I suspect mine will not be that good. Yeah, it seems pretty good. Similar sort of system to Testosterone, I think. I've not had a chance to play it yet, but it just looks quite entertaining. Reasonably simple. The rules are quite well illustrated. There's some lovely artwork and some lovely minis in here as well. So yeah, another sort of a test stream of sorts. I just thought I'd stream a bit of me painting rather than just sat there in silence. There are plenty of rules in here as well. So we've got knights, sergeants. This is what I'm going to look at today. Those two. You've got all sorts of other miniatures as well. So you've got crossbowmen, bowmen, spearmen, monks, the sort of peasant levy, then all additional heroes and lords, veteran sergeants. Loads, absolute loads, and then there's loads of different weapons profiles and stuff as well. Good. I need to have a proper read through that. We'll put that to one side. So I've got some more minis as well from them. So there's a mixture. So I think this. I think these are the sergeants with spears, but without the shields. I think they're all two-handed. You get the bases, which is a change, so I don't normally include them, which is a bit skimpy of them. Spears, these are very, very bendy. There's a crossbowman. Very similar in look and style to the sergeants. Two pieces by the looks of it, bases included as well. Those should be good. I think there's a sergeants with hand weapons. There's like a couple of axes in there and a few swords. Oh, I'm off completely off camera, aren't I? What is this one? This is the Knight Command Packer, I think, which is a knight and his bannerman. This was one way if you spent like £30, I think, or something, it puts off through in a free miniature, but without a base. So I'll have to go find one. Got a patch over his eye, I think. I'll take it out of the bag, it'll be a bit easier to see. Really good sculpts. I need to work on the lighter stuff again still. Well, yeah, so I'll put all that to one side because just move this out of the way. Here, also I made earlier. So these are what I looked at. Again, I got these off eBay. So we've got a pack of 4 sergeants. These are the spears and shields. Really nice miniatures. Very medieval looking. And then 4 knights with hand weapons. These again are really nice miniatures. You do have to attach the shields. I don't mind that because you get the sculpts. I usually attach them first. I think it just makes it a bit easier. It's not so much easier on the painting, but you don't have to worry about getting big blobs of super glue everywhere. There you go, some more. Right, is the audio all good? Yeah, it looks like it's all good, I think. No Sundance had problems last time we listened in. Yeah, so I've got that. Airbrush, so this is a Neo for the Water CN, which is okay. It's basically just they made a slightly more quality controlled Chinese one. Not great. Although I tend to be bad at cleaning them out as well, which doesn't help. Yeah, it works. When it works really well. I find it clogs up a lot. The nozzle is a bit of a pain, so it's one of these Chinese like screw-on ones. You need to get a little mini wrench, or I usually use just a small set of pliers and be gentle. But it gets clogged up a lot. Yeah, it does work. I did get a quick disc to connect, but it leaks air, which means it's not very useful. So I've just got it plugged straight into the cord as well, and the compressor. To be honest, this isn't much better than the cheap Chinese ones. Priming. So I've got this one. This one I had. I think this was the first airbrush I got. Come in the kit. This kind of it feels horrible. That does feel much more refined. This is pretty horrible. But it works very well. I think I created loads of Team Yankee Russian armour with this. In fact, it's very clogged up as well. I didn't clean it at all. Yeah, it's rubbish. It does work though. I think this was like £5 or £10. So in terms of primers, so I quite like the Vallejo ones. I'll give it a quick shake. So I'm going to do a bit of a Zenith on these, but I'm not going to do too extreme. So the black I find really good. I do struggle with these clogging up. The black's really good. It's the black surface primer from Vallejo. This works out like less than the cost of one rattle can by a long way, and it seems to go a lot further as well. Same the grey. I've only just started using this. I've got one of the somewhere. There's a smaller size Vallejo bottle. Here we go. So this one's a 200ml. This is a 60. I've still got a small amount left in this. This has done like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of beers. So this one's going to last forever, pretty much. To do also, which is really good, do the primers in a dropper bottle. This isn't a primer, this is just a metallic, I think. Which is really good if you're not sure about how you'll get on with them and you want to try them out. You can go pick up one of the 17mm ones, and it's the same, like £2 price. £2.50. If you're not sure, these are the best way to go. Just pick one up, try it out, and you can go. There's also a lot more colours in these ones. Right, I'll move that one. Very little desk space. And I tend to use this to mix in with it, so the flow improver. And I've had more success with this not clogging the airbrush than I have with the airbrush thinner, which I do use as well sometimes. But I tend to find if I just use this with a couple of drops of this, it won't clog. The airbrush thinner, it thins the paint, but the airbrush still clogs. At least that's my experience. What I have been using for most of my Napoleonics actually is this one. So this is from scale 75. It's the Instant Colours primer, and it's Ice Charm. So this came with scale 75's Instant Inks. You could get these extra. There's a few other colours. This is the one I like the most because it's like a bluey grey. In fact, I'll just grab a minute so you can see it. do. So this it comes out like that. So it's really good for the contrast paints, actually. A lot cheaper than buying the contrast spray cans. Unfortunately, they don't seem to be selling this, or any of the instant colours. I don't know if that's because they were a little, I get the impression they were a bit of a flop, because they tried to pitch them as being like contrast and they're not. Hopefully we'll see this on their Scale 75 website so you can order it. Yeah, so that's it. So I've got one of these little airbrush pot things, but it's mainly just used as a stand. Window open. I'm not going into the rooms. I'm not going to do too much. I don't tend to do a lot at once. What I will do is put a piece of paper down to save my mat a little bit. Have I got one of those painting handles? No, not handy. So what I usually do, start off, because I'm tired about cleaning airbrushes, is I usually put a bit of water in and test if it actually works. Which would work if I turned it on. Yeah, so it seems to be coming out fairly good. You could see that. See if I can get on. I can't see on camera very well. But it's definitely working. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to prime these 8 up because I keep meaning to. So I'm going to do them in the black first, and then I'm going to go over afterwards, so with the black. Then I'm going to go over afterwards from sort of like a 45-degree angle, all round the minis with this grey. So you'll not see a lot of the black, but it'll be on the undersides and in the really deep shadows, which works really well. This is a sort of Zenith type of prime. You could go over again with white, but I tend to not bother. It probably will give you a better finish, but I find this works quite well, and it's better than just using say the grey. I forgot what I was going to say then. Anyway, I don't know who is listening. I think there's 3 people listening, according to the stats. So, if you want to say anything, please do. If not, you can just either listen to the music in the background. If the volume's too loud or quiet, let me know, and I'll try and adjust them. But I've just got the music on in the background. Why our prime is up. Let's get started then. So, get a bit of a light. I'm going to get a bit of a shake because it does settle a little bit. What I usually do is stick a few drops in, followed by a couple of drops of the flow improver, and then do the same again. Then I find a cheap brush, which I've not got stirring up. It's probably not how to do this, but that seems pretty good. I might stick a little bit of spinner in actually. That will help. I ain't quite worked out a lighting thing yet, so I'm going to try and get a sort of hobby painting kind of light, but not one of those because I'll pay the hobby tax, but some sort of light to just help. It's not so bad now because it's daytime. So let's see if this works. Yep. So that comes out really good. I don't know what pressure I've got though. Let's have a look. About 20 psi on the compressor. I don't tend to have much luck with airbrushes, so I don't pay it too much attention. I change it and it either works or it doesn't. Yeah, so fact, I should probably mute it while I've got the airbrush on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute it and just let the music play while I prime these up. Oh, I've just seen your message in chat, yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'm just doing some hobby. I just thought I'd let other people watch if they want to. Yeah, so I'm just priming these. If you've missed that, I've just gone through what I'm using. So I've got Vallejo's White Surface Primer mixed in with a bit of Flow Improver and a few drops of thinner. And then once I've done that, I'm going to go over them again with the Grey Surface Primer from Vallejo to give them a bit of Zenith highlight. But I'm going to mute it while I prime these up, otherwise you're just going to hear airbrush compressor noises. I was completely muted and I was talking. Yeah, I'd not seen Golden Button. I'm guessing that's on XLBS, so I'll have to go and have a look. I'll have a look after I finish these then, I think. So, thanks for letting me know. Oh, for the Landwehr Cavalry. Oh, that's good. Because I was fairly happy with those. I can show you if you want a close look at them or anything. Let me know, and I'll get them out in a second. But yeah, I went from like hating those to actually being quite happy with them, especially for the amount of effort it took to do. So they did take quite a while, but I think I kind of got a good system going in the end with them. Right, I'll just get these last few finished. See, my airbrush is already going splattering and rubbish already, which is just something I always find tends to happen. I think what happens is that it collects on the end of here. I did have a look on eBay for like a Harder and Steinbeck, is it? And I was winning a bid, and then it went a little bit crazy, so I stopped. But they seem to have a much better system for the nozzles, and you can get the parts over here. I think a lot of people get the badges, but I don't think you can get parts. So right, I'm just going to finish these off. This is what I tend to find with this airbrush, whether it's me just being horrendous with it or not adding enough thinner or flow improver, but it just tends to completely clog up. Which I think is going to be in here. Usually if I give a bit of encouragement it will work. I think also this clogs up in the end of here, which it looks like it might have. I don't think I've really got anything better than this to clean it out with on hand. I think what happens is the paint kind of ends up drying out and sticking in the end. Big lump there. One day I'll get better at this. I think John did a video on airbrushing, which I think I watched ages ago, but I've not caught up on it since. You've probably got some good tips on how not to like clog your airbrush up. Let's see if that works. Better. I think that's probably good enough to finish him off. be happy with it. Doesn't look like come out too bad. A little bit. The base has got a good amount on. Oh, I left the sound on. Sorry if I just deafened you with airbrush compressor noises. I'm gonna spirit this out now. Oh, again, made him. Sounds like Wookiees growling. It's what is it? Here we go. See if we can get it on camera. It's one of these. FD182. I think this is basically the same as all the others, except the initials were slightly different when I looked. But I got this one off Amazon, and it was like the same price as whatever the other ones are called, which are FD182. I don't think it was that expensive actually. It works quite well, I think. I don't know. Maybe the compressor's a problem. I didn't want one with a tank because then it's even bigger and bulkier, and this one's big enough as it is. I did have one of those really cheap little box ones, which I've still got somewhere, but that just kind of didn't seem to do much. For want of a better choice of words, it just kind of used to splutter out. You could I kind of did a few, but you could tell it weren't like ideal. Right, I'll mute this while I clean this out. Right, that's the first bit of airbrushing done. What I will say as well is I always, I learned this the hard way, put gloves on, if you can get them. Because like, I've worn this one 2 times, but you can see the amount of black that you get on the end, and it comes off your hands, it doesn't come off your nails very well. Not really like a good scrub. Yeah, so why I give those a minute to let them dry. Yeah, the land's there, so I'll check out on tabletop in a second. Yeah, these are minis which have been. I've not based them yet actually. I weren't. So what I've got is this is the first one I did. So I did some actual land there. But there's 2 more figures. You get 26 in a box. I cut this down to 24 because you get 2 metal commands. So I think that basically they come on sprues of 6, I think, or 4s. But then you get 2 metal command figures, so you end up with 2 extra if you're doing 24. 26 is a bit of an odd size because you don't get a square sort of formation. But yeah, the Landwehr cavalry are here. I've done a little bit extra on them since, so I actually did the bases. Oh, Nailbrush does it. Yeah, Nailbrush does, but it's just, I don't know. you end up like with your hands going red raw when you do that. So the bases I use. Well, I haven't decided what to do. I think I'm going to do more tufts. So those are static grass, which actually the photos make them look really bright. It's not as bright. But for the basing, what I do is I think I've done this on the photos, which one I use these Vallejo earth textures. I've actually used quite a lot of this, but I have done quite a few minis. So it's like a paste. You probably can't see that very good because of the light. It's a paste, but it's got really small particles in it, so you get a very fine texture. And I've got a few different colours actually of that, which I use for different things. But these, what I've done since is I picked up this big pot of Vallejo Game Wash Dip. This is the sepia one. They do a black one as well. And then I've just doused that base texture in it, and it kind of raises it out a lot more. So yeah, I need to decide. I'm going to do some more tests because I wasn't too happy with those infantry. I'm going to do some testing on how I'm going to do some bases, I think, on these. But yeah, I've got. What I did is you get 12. So I've got most of them based up on 50mm squares with 2 of them. I've done a couple singles as well. So these are the ones with a little cap on. The lighting's not really very great there, is it, to be honest? I need to work on. I am going to work on some lighting. But yeah, they're a mix of lots of different painting techniques, really. So the horses I use contrast for the most part. So I'm going to hazard a guess that this one is snake bite leather. But what I tend to do with some of the colours is give them 2 coats. So this one's had 2 coats, I think, and then I also give it a brown wash. So probably I've got very little left. I've got a shade, but you can see how little I've got about left. I have got another tub somewhere. And then I use a different contrast paint for the mains and the tails. So this one's got black, but those are really quick. And then all the leatherworks, black temple contrast as well. And I touch up some of the metal works. But yeah, they come out. They're really simple. So the saddle is a black sheepskin, and then the shark's teeth. I forget what they're called around the edge. They've got a name. They just match the unit facing colours. So in this one, I've given him a unit facing colour of red. Aiming for sort of Newmark province, because that's what the black and white pen one's for as well, which is a part of what I'm all writing up of, like what the colours are and what you can do as like a wargamers kind of guide, rather than here's all the history. So it's just like, I'm thinking of using I'm going to get a pack of these. What colours might I want to paint them in? A bit like what you get in the box, but with a little bit more in depth to it. And then the trousers are another contrast. I think it's Space Wolf's Grey. I've been using that a lot for the Prussians. It works really well, as is probably the roll on this guy. The faces on these were done in contrast, which I'm kind of reasonably happy with. They're not amazing. And then the coats are a mixture of kind of triady kind of painting, so the more traditional stuff, and some washes. So I start with, on these ones I did dark Prussian blue, followed by Prussian blue. I've now changed that up a little bit to a proper triad. But then I do all that, I do all the facings in red. I tend to use, sometimes I use a contrast red, but then I generally finish it off with a Vallejo model colour red afterwards. And then just the metalwork. So yeah, all the leatherwork's black. Really simple. The assembly of these is the problem. So you can possibly see it here, but because of the long coats, they don't fit in the saddles very well, because you've got like the roll on the back as well. So these are the same horses that Warlord used for the Hussars, because I picked a couple of boxes of those up. And I've checked them, and they are the same horses. So the Hussars fit fine because they've got a short coat, but because these have got a long coat, we kind of sit high in the saddle. But yeah, I was actually really happy with them. I took a while doing them, but you could probably do these quite fast. And then yeah, you've got the officer. I mixed it up and gave the officer a grey horse. Usually it's the musician, so like the trumpeter, which has a grey horse, but I just wanted to give the officer one to have a change. That is a few different contrast greys with then some black washes over the top, and that comes out kind of pretty good, at least on the tabletop standards. The officer's painted exactly the same as everyone else. No real difference there. Yeah, I kind of got all this camera set up wrong. But yeah, the full unit looks really good. 12's like, I think 12's quite large for black powder. I think quite a few people use 8s. But I've kind of done it in a way that you can do that. So you've got 4 individual figures and then 4 pairs. So hopefully I can use them for a few different things. I guess, I don't know what the Jacos and Bayonets when that comes out is, which is Napoleonic muskets and tomahawks. Whether you can have like a unit of say 4, in which case I could just use these 4 in the middle, which are all based individually. Yeah, I was really happy with them. Here's a cannon as well, which I was actually really enjoyed doing this. I think this is probably the best thing I've painted up so far. So again, the lighting's a bit awkward to see, I think. But yeah, same painting recipe basically. Mixed contrast. I actually airbrushed the cannon, so I airbrushed the cannon Prussian blue for like the carriage and so on, and then dry brushed it with, I think, let's have a look, this one, dark blue grey from Vallejo. So I get a dry brush over, airbrushed it because it gets into all the recesses quite good. Then dry brushed it, and then I just gave it a black wash. All of the metal work I just did in black Templar contrast. That gives you a really good finish. Oh, hello, Balthazar. Thanks for joining. So, Homogeny, I'm probably saying that completely wrong, but that's how I read it. Homogen Gavy? It's just homogeny in my head, so sorry. I just mentioned I got a golden button, which I had no idea about, so I'm going to have to watch the backstage XLBS and see that. Apparently it was for the Prussian Landwehr Cavalry, which is what I was just showing. So that was these, so I got this a unit of these. There's better photos on the project posts. Yeah, I was really happy with these after the pain of assembling them. So what I'm actually up to is, just because I wanted to do some streaming while I did some hobby, rather than just do some hobby, is I'm doing some priming of some miniatures for the Bands War. So I've got 4 foot sergeants with spears and 4 knights on foot with hand weapons, which I picked those packs up off eBay because they were cheaper than Hedge, Amond, Gary. Yeah, I should probably just say Gary. That'd be better, wouldn't it? Yeah, so I think I might even have a picture of them in here. Probably going to be. I would say these small rule books are really handy. I prefer a bigger one because it's a bit easier to read, and also the PDF's great because you can search. Then knights with 2-handed weapons. So yeah, I think these are the guys. So these are some foot sergeants. I don't know how I'm going to paint them up yet. Today I'm basically just giving them a bit of a prime. That's these guys here. I really want to get one of the mounted ones as well. I think they look super cool. And then there is some knights on foot. with hand weapons, which I'm possibly not going to see, but it's an idea. I've got one with the standard bearer as well. I did show a box of all of the goodies I got from Footsore. So yeah, I've got some crossbowmen, some sergeants with hand weapons instead of spears, some sergeants with 2 hands on a spear. The 3 miniature you got for spending I think £20 or £30, which you do if you buy the book and then buy a bunch of minis. And I've got like the Knight Command, which is a knight we could use as a leader, and the one with a standard bearer with a very big brass rod. You do get bases with them, which is great because usually Footsore don't put bases in. Or maybe they've changed that now. I think they announced the pricing change and said they were going to start including bases. Because usually you just get like this guy, you just get a guy, and then you need to go find a base or buy a base. Yeah, the smaller rulebook. Yeah, it's really it is a pain. It is really handy. It doesn't take up a lot of room at all, and it's great if you were to go somewhere. You can just put it in. It's a fantastic book, this as well. It's got like that matte textured plasticky kind of feel over it that you get, and the print quality is excellent. It's quite simple to follow as well. Like all of the stats are really clear. The rules are quite well illustrated. I've not done a full-on read of all of them yet. They have started adding bases and weapon packs. I'm a bit torn sometimes with bases. I can see why companies sometimes don't do it. So like Warlord don't do bases with a lot of their black powder kits because people have different standards, sizes that they might want to use, or you might want to put them on circles, not squares, and so on. So I can see why people do it, but it's a bit off-putting sometimes. When you're like, oh right, now I've got to go order these things. So hopefully these have dried up. Yeah, not too bad. So this is just Vallejo's. Yeah, it's nice to have spare bases. I've got loads, but you can never find them when you want them. So this is the Vallejo surface primer in black. So I wanted to do them black because there's a lot of chainmail on them, and I'm thinking that the black will go into the recesses and make them easier to paint. But what I am going to do is I'm going to use the grey from Vallejo. I really like this colour. I actually prime mostly in this for a lot of minis. Over the top, there's sort of a 45 degrees as a bit of a zenith to get some highlights, and possibly let me then use some contrast, so the blacks will just kind of sit in the recesses. But yeah, they look like they're drying up nicely. What I also use quite a lot is this one, which you can't get, which is annoying because I've used like half a bottle. Is the Instant Colours Ice Charm Primer from Scale to 75, which came out with their instant colours. I'm guessing because they kind of, to me, feel like they're a bit of a flop. I ain't using them a lot because they say instant, and you think, oh, contrast, and they're not at all. They're more like inks or strong washes. But maybe they're not going to produce these, but we'll see. But if they do, I'll be getting some, because I actually really like this colour. It works absolutely great. In fact, most of the Prussians that I've done, in fact all the ones I've just shown you, were primed up in it. This is what it looks like. Well, this actually needs a bit of touching up because my airbrush sculpts are terrible. But yeah, these are all done in this Ice Charm primer. It works fantastic for contrast bits on them. I don't do a lot in contrast with these. I tend to just do the trousers and the faces on really big units, just to speed it up a bit. I'm trying to find one which I've primed with a black and grey Zenith, but I don't think I've got any minis out or around with that at the moment. No, I can't see any. So I think I'm just going to leave those a couple more minutes to dry, then I'll pick them up. In fact, I might go see what is on tabletop. I don't know where the golden buttons show up, because I had no idea. Did this show up on a page on there? It's been slow again. Yeah, I don't know where they show up. Do they show up on your products, maybe? I don't know if anyone has found an easy way to get to your projects on tabletop site. What I find I always do is I have to go on my profile and go down to projects and get to them that way. But yeah, it's been a bit slow today, unfortunately. Does Golden Button show up on here? Sean, I don't know. Well, I'm gonna have to. I'm guessing they'll show up if I watch the XLBS. But what I'll show you quickly what I'm working on. So for the next, see if it's going to fill up the right window. Yay! Oops. So the next project update. That really doesn't work, does it? That'll do. So the next project update, I kind of started writing them in docs because the project system's a bit hit and miss, but I sort of pulling together a bunch of stuff I've been reading up about the different Prussian units. So the first one I'm going to do is on the Prussian Landwehr Cavalry, as I've just painted them. So a bit about the organisation, and then I'm going to do some like a Wargamer's guide to the uniforms. So there's some really good plates you can get, but also this website's really good. Mont Saint Jean. It tends to clash a little bit sometimes with uniforms, but the Landwehr Cavalry were actually really simple, so it's not very hard for someone to do because it's basically just the colours change. So you get squadrons, so cavalry regiments are divided into squadrons, I think that's right, where you get a first, second, third and fourth, and each one has its own epaulette colour. So you get white, red, yellow and blue, which matches the Landwehr infantry battalions. So 1st battalion would be right in an infantry battalion and so on. But then you'd get the Landspelons, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm probably saying it completely wrong. But for different provinces these changed. But they did then become standardised in 1815 later on, and all became black and white for everyone. But earlier on, so like 1815, I think up to Waterloo as well, and the 100 Days campaign, they'd be coloured based on the province. So this would be Q Mark and New Mark, which would be black and white. But then you've got a bunch of other ones as well. So like Silesia, which is the Prussians you usually see with the yellow markings. They usually use yellow and white. Elb had some nice, interesting faces because she had like a really bright blue compared to the dark blue jackets that they wore. That was their colour, but they used blue and red, that lighter blue and red. You've got Westphalia. They use green, which is really nice, really interesting, mixes it up a little bit. But they didn't join until later on because Westphalia was like a state basically controlled by Napoleon until they decided to switch over and join the Prussian side. But they used an orange flag. Apparently, there seems to be some question marks over what colour they had. Then you've got the this is all French, so I think this is Pomerania. This was interesting. I just wrote it in as a mix-up, but this website suggests that the 2nd Regiment from that province wore grey, but they had white facings. So the white facings match what the Italians actually had. But yeah, I've not seen them in grey before. It does make sense because these were just cheap coats, so that were mass produced. So if all they could do was get grey ones and not like dyeing blue. The 1st Regiment had blue, I think. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm doing. So this, I think, will be a good project post. So this will be on the Prussian Landwehr Cavalry. So it's going to be structured like that. So it's going to be a bit about the history of them, which I've not got very far writing up yet. A little bit on the organisation. Then a big chunk on the uniforms, because I think this is like what you probably want to know. You don't want to go too in depth, like this button must be this colour, but I'm going to put the information there if you want it. So like the buttons should be this colour, which to be fair, they're either yellow or white, or silver and gold, depending on what you want. So you can button count, but it doesn't really make much difference because these are so easy to paint anyway. And then I'm listing the sources and stuff I'm using, but I'm going to try and put a little bit about them in games, but it's kind of hard because I haven't had a chance to play a game with them yet. But I'm probably just going to do a quick analysis of the rules, especially for Black Powder. So Black Powder, Landwehr Cavalry are really cheap, but they're not very. They don't have a very high fight kind of values and so on. But we do have Lancers, and I think I've not had a chance to play a game yet, but I think the Lancers are actually pretty shocking. Especially on, I imagine, on like first charges. So I've got this one. I've got another dock where I'm doing it for the Landwehr Infantry, and I've got another dock after that, which is the Reservists, which are the other unit I've been painting. I don't think I put a thing on the project post for those, but the Reservists are really interesting. I might even write multiple project posts on those. And then I'm just going to keep going round like that, so it'll go through all the other stuff. Hopefully, I want to do like a post where I stick the images on of what I've actually done, and then like one of these follow-up posts which explains that unit and so on. So I'll jump back to the overhead. Yes, I'm trying to move my hand with the mouse. That's not going to work, is it? Yeah, so these hopefully have dried enough now that I can come in and give them a Zenith if I can get the airbrush working. But I think what I'm going to do is try and get a bit of light on with one of these like work lights I've got. I don't know if it's going to make too much of a difference. Might do. We'll see. I don't know if it makes much difference or not. That kind of just makes a stronger shadow, I think. I'll get the spraying glove back on. But yeah, if I don't know who's still around, but if you are still around, is there anything you're working on? I think you mentioned that someone was working on a project earlier. Move the expensive mouse out of the way. Don't get that covered in paint. So hopefully this is kind of gone all through. I think what I'll do is I'll put a little bit more water through it. If I turned it on, it would probably help. I think that might be alright. Right, yeah, so I'll just mute that while I clear this out.
Some humans will either be uploaded into machines, genetically as dramatic as the creation of an artificial intelligence. If human beings are uploaded or augmented, I don't think it's appropriate to call them human anymore. They will be something else, something new.
Right, yep, so next step, so these have all been primed in the black surface primer. I'm going to now, assuming the airbrush works, go over them in the grey, but not completely cover them, so I'm probably going to try and not put too much thinner in, but I'll give it a shake first, it does set a little bit, and then we'll see how I get on. I think what I'll do is I'll just put a couple of drops of flow improver in, which tends to be what I found is the best way of stopping it clogging up. I always find the thinner clogs it up, I don't know why. That seems pretty good. Yeah. Right, I'm going to mute it again, but let's see how we go. Seems not too bad. I think the airbrush is a little bit clogged because it's coming out at a funny angle, but that's kind of a look I was after. So it'll look quite grey, but in some of the... I'm trying to look now, I can't see myself. In some of the darker recesses, it's still got the black. Sorry. Yeah, lovely airbrush compressor noises in the background. That was quite quick. So it's kind of a look I'm going for actually. So you'll see they end up mostly grey, but in the dark recesses you still get black, and places like behind the shields, because I've given it quite a light coat of grey, there it's still pretty black. And then I've just given the shield a bit of an extra highlight to bring out some stronger colours. I could do it with a camera, couldn't I really? So I could do a bit of a zoom in cam. I think that's going to knock the sound if I do that. Yeah, so a couple more up. One of the sergeants. So yeah, you get it comes out being mostly grey, and you're like, well, why did you do it black? But if you'd just done the grey over the metal, I find you tend to get quite a lot of the metal showing through. So this, because I've done that thin coat of black first, it's like running covered all the metal, and then this gives you like a lot of detail. Yeah, get nice and close. The chainmail's quite highlighted. Yeah, so that's all it's done. I'll probably start a new project, I suspect, for these, just so I can follow them along. But yeah, I've got plenty more. So there's 8, I think I've got, what, another 12, 15, no, another 15 or so. I'll probably end up picking a few more as well. But yeah, they look really good. I'm quite looking forward to the game as well. How long have we been going? I think I'll possibly call it 1 hour 6. That's not too bad, is it? So what I'll probably do is look to see if there is anyone else streaming. I know Martin sometimes does. And kick a host over to them. If not, I'll probably just end the stream, and I think it will host someone else. But I will leave the music playing a little bit in the background. But yeah, that's kind of one. I thought I'd just wrap up one session, so rather than me pitting all day, I thought I'd just do a little shortish video. And we'll see if I can zoom in actually to close this off, just to show some close-ups. Take the cap off. That's not good. So that's the finished results. So hopefully you get a bit of a better idea of sort of what I was going for with them. So you get some pretty deep shadows in the recesses, but these should now work really well with most paints. So I found this brings out contrast paints quite well as because you've got those that like free shading. Yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll set this up for a minute. I think the cable's too short. I was going to try and leave it there as sort of like a closing shot. Yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll wrap it up. I'm just going to have a quick look to see if there's anyone else streaming. Then I'll put the closing credits scene on. Let's have a look. No, it doesn't look like it. I think Martin's probably having a bit of a hobby-free weekend by the looks of it. So what I'll do is I'll mute myself and get off, and I'll leave the music on for about 5 minutes or so, just to close out the stream. So thanks for listening in, if you did listen in. I hope it was interesting enough for you to follow along. if you're still here, or even if you're just listening for the background music. Yeah, I'll close it off. It's quite nice to do another one of these. I think I probably will try and do them every so often. So this is like a small little self-contained bit of a project. Just an hour of doing a bit of priming on some figures. I might try and do it for these Brown War minis, maybe as a bit of the theme potentially. We'll see. I haven't decided how I'm going to paint these at all yet. What colours? I'm going to have to do some research. Probably read Panzer Kaput's project post. But yeah, that'll be it for today. Thanks for listening if you did. I shall now go on mute, say goodbye, and leave the credits rolling.